The government intervention that's happening in the economy is not happening to the benefit of the working people. It's happening against their interests. I'll give you some examples. The government's spending that leads the deficit spending.
Yes.
Who does that hurt the most? Well, first of all, it ends up printing cash. So what happens then? Inflation. So who does inflation hurt? It hurts the wage earner, because the super rich, they can inflation-proof their assets and sometimes get inflation positive benefits, especially if they're able to leverage debt, which then goes down in real value with inflation as their assets go up in nominal value. Whereas the wage earner ends up way worse off because the money he earns is buying him less. This is an enormous wealth transfer from the working classes to the super rich. And I think the working class in the Western rural has been absolutely robbed over the last 50 years. If you think about it, say 50 years, over the last 50 years, the amount of food you get off of an acre of farmland is quadrupled. The amount of milk you get out of a cow has gone up by about the same amount, just through production.
Yes.
And yet food prices have skyrocketed. So how is it that, we produce more food with less land, less fertilizer, less labor, less fuel, less water? All the costs of producing food have gone down, 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 down for 50 years, and yet the price of food has skyrocketed. Yes. Why is it that you pay 20 times more for an ebook today than you paid for a hard copy book 40 years ago? Even though that hard copy book had to be printed, you had to buy the ink, you had to bind it, you had to ship it, you had to rent a bookstore.
Yes. Okay,
so what does all this have to do with the working people? They have been, despite the enormous increase in production that should have dramatically lowered prices because of enormous amounts of money printing, their purchasing power has gone down. And that is the reason why we have so much inequality. Now, that is not a market failure. That is a government failure.
Yes.
So that this did not happen because the government just stood back and did nothing and let the marketplace function. It happened because the government stepped in, flooded the economy with cheap cash, and ultimately carried out a huge wealth transfer from the working poor to a very small group of wealthy elite, and from the wage earner to the people who, through no fault of their own, live off assets. But that is one of the reasons why I think that's the number one reason why we're seeing working people look to more conservative parties who are tighter with money, because they know that they need to preserve the purchasing power of their wages, and
Yes.
we're the party to do it.